What if 5 minutes of the right brain game could calm your too much dog faster than an hour of veg?
Welcome to Straight Up Dog Talk, the podcast helping burned out pet parents who feel stuck with their pup finally let go of the guilt, learn to communicate, and build the bond you've always dreamed of through a partnership based approach that combines training, nutrition, and enrichment instead of chasing the quick fixes that don't actually work.
I'm Ed, and in this episode, you'll learn how to set the right difficulty so puzzles build curiosity, not frustration, and actually tire your dog out. A simple enrichment stacking routine to reduce anxiety, destructive chewing, and post-fetch meltdowns, and why this modular puzzle toy is beating one and done enrichment routines. Because peace at home isn't about more exercise. It's about smarter play.
Aina, would you tell us how Posler was born? What was the spark that turned into a global modular dog toy?
Absolutely. We do modular dog puzzles. And the idea kind of started from the fact that we were observing our dogs solving puzzles and then saw that they get bored with it really fast and that it's also quite expensive to all the time get new toy, new toy, new toy, new toy. And then we were like, I wish there was something where you could switch it up, you can change the difficulty level, you could keep building your collection of puzzles. And that's where we joined this Lego modular approach with dog puzzles. And that's how Puzzler was born.
Love it. We have one. You guys sent us one, and I love it because Fitz is one of those dogs that he just blows through the puzzles and then it's not fun anymore and he doesn't want to do it. Or it takes me 20 minutes to load the thing up and he's done with it in 3 seconds. And it's like, this isn't, how is this benefiting anybody? It's taking up my time and he doesn't even enjoy it anymore. But I could show one here. He loves it. I like that I can change it around. It's different things. It keeps him really engaged. And they're really easy to take off. I'm going to show everybody how easy it is to take it off. You just push the little buttons here. Of course, I'm trying to do this while holding it up. And it just flew off and hit Toby. Toby's like, what the heck? But it's great. This one has 2 elements, but I could turn it around so it only had 1 element. And it has a flip here. It's just fun because your dog can explore and kind of sniff, and it's very engaging. And I like to watch my dog do puzzles. I think it's really fun to watch him do puzzles because when he's learning or he's curious about something, he gets really into it. It's just kind of fun. So how many different little module pieces are there now?
So we currently have 13 different puzzles. So there is one base that is universal for all the puzzles. Bases can also be mergeable. So if you have 2 bases, you can put them side by side and then put a big puzzle on top of it and it kind of merges it together. So you can build it really as big as you want. You can have 20 bases on the floor just connected with different puzzles. We currently have 13 different puzzles. We started with 4 when we launched, and ever since then we've been launching a few every year. We name all of them after dogs. So each one of them has a dog name. And at first when we started, we were like, okay, we'll start with something intermediate and then maybe go into something a bit easier so that pups can begin with solving puzzles for pups who only started their enrichment journey. And then all of our comments were like, make them harder. So this is what we've been working on a lot. So just like how to level it up. And we just recently launched a Genius set, which I think is a one that really, really gives you something to think about. And it's such a joy watching them figure things out. And one thing that I think is also extremely interesting is that when you watch them solve puzzles, you can see that its difficulty levels are quite subjective. And I think that's such a good comparison to how humans think. Because, for example, even if you look at just the school subject, somebody finds English extremely easy, but math super hard. And then another kid finds math super easy and, I don't know, history extremely hard. And we find that it's very similar with dogs. Yes, we have some difficulty levels that are quite, let's say, average, but then you watch different puppies and some of them find a mechanism that is super hard for some of them. And we say, okay, this is a level 3. And for some pups is level 1. And then you have some mechanism that for me, like I think, oh, this is going to be easier for them to figure out. And it's super hard. It really just goes to show that how very different they are and how differently they think about it. And it's such a learning experience for you as an owner, watching your dog figure it out, watching them learn, watching them on the spot just think about the problem and how to solve it. It's reality TV in a dog puzzle.
And it's endorphins for everybody, right? Because
Yeah.
you're usually laughing and the dog is excited and happy and they're getting treats and it's fun. I love it. And it is really cool to see how different they are because Toby, my little guy, he's an older Chihuahua Terrier mix and he's very like, just let me dig all the treats out. He'll flip it over and he'll do whatever he can just to get the treats out of it. He has no desire to do the thing. He just wants the treats out of it. He doesn't care. But Fitz is very curious about it and he will take his time and you can actually watch him think about how do I do this. He's not an aggressive, I would say an aggressive puzzler. He doesn't like grab it and shake it unless it's the hexagon toy, which he does do that with. We have a toy and this was kind of my sign that this was not enough for him. Whatever you can get from most places. It's like this hexagon ball and it's hollow and it has pieces of felt in it. And you roll the pieces of felt up with treat and stick it in all the little holes. It takes me 15, 20 minutes to do that. And then he just shakes it and the treats. It's not fun anymore. You know, it was fun when he would take each piece out and roll the felt out and eat all the. No, it's not enough of a challenge for him. That border collie, man, that's a hard breed because they figure things out so quickly. I'm sure you've observed a lot of dogs with your testing and all that kind of stuff. What breeds do you find like more quickly get through some of the difficult stuff?
You have those breeds that are more intelligent, like poodles and border collies, like you mentioned, Aussies and so on, who are, let's say, more stereotypically smart. And yes, we do see that they can figure out things faster, but also we realize there is no rule. Because we also have Chihuahuas who are solving genius puzzles without any issues, and Pomeranians who are not known for their smarts, for example. So it really is so like dog specific that I wouldn't even go so far to discriminate in terms of like which breeds. I think it just really, really depends on a dog. And when it comes to difficulty levels, it's just like it's such a great game for humans as well, because we have to be responsible for assembling this puzzle, which means that we are responsible for figuring out where exactly our dog is and set up a puzzle that is perfect for their difficulty level. You have to start slow. You have to start with something that your puppy will figure out quite fast, or at least that it won't be too big of a challenge, because it's all about a learning curve, right? If you think about a perfect window where even humans learn the best is where something is challenging, but at the same time not challenging, not too challenging when it would come to the point of frustration, because then you just cannot learn anything. So it has to be something that it's challenging enough to get your mind going and for you to try to figure something out, but at the same time not too hard. And it's the same with dog puzzles and with dogs. You just have to find that perfect level, meet them where they're at, but then also have something where you can constantly level up as soon as they figure things out. And that's why, for example, we have this puzzle Piper, which is one of my favorites. And this is how it looks. It has like 4 different lids, and then it has 2 locking sliders that lock those 4 lids. But what I love about it the most is if you flip it around, you can take those locking sliders out one by one, so that you can really start your dog with just the 4 lids. And then once they figure this part out, you can start adding the sliders. So you first add one slider, and then once your dog figures this one out, you add the other one. And we have a couple of puzzles that work this way, where you can really level up difficulty level with the same pieces you already have.
I love that. That is such a cool idea. And I like that you're building on it. You give them the base model and then you're saying, okay, next level, because that extends how much longer they can do it even further. That's just such an incredible idea. Like being able to think that far ahead and go back and go forth. That's just, you're really onto something here. And I think that it's really, really neat how you also equate their ability to think and learn, because I think a lot of people don't give dogs enough credit. They're just like, they're dogs. No, they're actually really smart and they're thinking, how do I get that pot roast that's in the oven? And what's in that trash can? I think I'd like to look. They're thinking about things and how to do things and how to accomplish these certain goals in their head. They might be different goals than we would like them to have sometimes, but they do have thoughts and goals and wants and needs just like people do. And so every time somebody openly recognizes that and tries to improve their lives because of it, I'm in all the way on that.
Yeah, absolutely. They're extremely smart. And I think that one of the problems maybe that us humans have, that we look at intelligence and our measurement of intelligence is how much does it do something like a human, while that's not how they think, right? They're extremely talented and extremely good at different things. Let's say just if you look at their ability of like scent, it's so much stronger than humans. And it's an incredible tool that they use, but we don't know how to measure that in terms of intelligence because that's not how we perceive it. But they were bred for so many things. They were bred to hunt, they were bred to guard, they were bred to watch the children. They had so many roles. I think nowadays, because we are moving more towards this like pet oriented society where we don't have as many working dogs as we used to, now all of those roles have been stripped from them. And now the only role that they currently have is like sit on a couch, look cute, right? But they still have all of those abilities in them. They still have all of those talents in them. And we have to give them some sort of a constructive way to exercise those things and an outlet for them to use those talents that they have. Otherwise, they're just going to try to figure out how to do it on their own. You know, if you don't properly exercise your herding breed, it's going to try herding your children or other pets. I think it's such an enriching thing for them to have some sort of an outlet that really, really exercises their brain and exercises all of these things that they were bred and meant to do.
Yeah, I completely agree. Enrichment was a really big light bulb moment for me because I have a dog that gets bored, maybe not destructive, but I know other people have dogs that are destructive, furniture, all kinds of other things, or they're not interested in life. Like you said, they're supposed to sit on the couch and look cute, and that's fine and good. But if that was you, if you had to sit in someone's house all day long and just sit on the couch and do nothing, and anytime you got down or did something that they didn't want you to do, they snapped at you or yelled at you or put you outside or ignored you or put you back on the couch and told you to stay again, you would be so bored. I don't understand why that's just okay to be like, my dog's over there, he's fine. Sometimes my dog is fine. He's outside right now, but you know what? He's got a ball, he's got a bowl of water, and he's got things to watch and do, and he's fine. He's fine. If he wants to come in, he'll sit by the back door and he'll bark. That's, I think, totally okay because he's investigating the yard. He's doing his own thing. He's enjoying the afternoon. But I'm not confining him to the couch because I could just say, sit back here and be quiet while I have this conversation. But he doesn't want to do that. So I'm not going to make him do that. The other dog is right here in my lap because that's where he wants to be. And I think that giving them choice and giving them some freedom when it comes to getting some of those urges and wants and desires out of their own little head is just so important for them.
Absolutely. And all that you described is enrichment, right? For them just looking out of the window and watching birds, that's already enriching. And for me, you described what your light bulb moment was. For me, it was when I was watching this really, really high energy dog. And one day I went with him for a walk. I think we were walking for 2 hours. And I brought him back home and he was a little tired, but after half an hour, he could go again, no problem. And then the next day, I unfortunately didn't have as much time. So I was like, okay, I only have 45 minutes or half an hour to do something with him. So I went out and instead of like just like walking him for 2 hours, I just like used some scent games and I, exercise enrichment and I, let's say, threw some treats on the ground for him to like scatter for. And I asked him to do some commands and so on. And when I tell you we got home and after like half an hour to 45 minutes, he was much more tired than the previous day when he went out for a 2 hour walk. That was for me really like when I noticed that now they say that 5 minutes of mental exercise equals 20 minutes of physical one. And I really believe that that's true. And of course, that is not to say that we should not physically exercise our dogs because that's also an extremely important part of their well-being, but it's just to show that that's not the only part, right? That they also need to exercise with their brain. The comparison I like to use is, how people, when they're put in elderly homes, as long as they have like company and they have, let's say, some Sudoku or some sort of mental engagement, they can thrive and they're really active. But as soon as they, let's say, don't have anything like this, then you can really see that their decline starts much faster. And we see the same with dogs. I had a 17-year-old puppy and not really puppy anymore, of course, but for me always. And I really saw that when I did a lot of mental stimulation with him, it kept him active. It kept him attentive and so on, much more than, let's say, if I didn't like if I let go for it like for a week or so. And I really saw the benefits myself of how he improved mentally, but also just physically, like he had just more will for life.
Yeah, and with dogs having that fulfillment, having that enjoyment in their day, it's just like us. Maybe you want to read a book at the end of the night. Maybe that's how you wind down, or maybe you watch TV. We have all of these different things that can fill our times. Dogs don't have those unless we allow them to have them. And I agree with you. The balance of enrichment and play is so important. That physical activity versus the mental stimulation. There really is a nice wavelength that you can find where it will exhaust your dog. I have one of those dogs that's like bing, bang, boom all over the place. He wants to play fetch. We play fetch for 20 minutes and then we come inside and he's so wound up that he can't calm down. Okay, well, here's an opportunity to give him a Posler or a lick mat or something to bring him down a little bit, or his wolf popsicle, and then he'll take a little nap. And an hour later, we do it all over again. And it really has to balance him out. But I can guarantee you the days that I give him enrichment versus the days that I don't, and we just go out there and play for 6 hours, he's too crazy. By the end of the night, I'm like, dude, what the heck? And then I'm like, oh, my bad. That was me. If I had given you other things to do, you would be tired right now. And that was huge for me when I figured that out.
Yeah, and I also think it's so beautiful that like when you recognize what it is that your dog needs at that moment, like if you see that I have a puppy right now that I'm watching and he just wants to bite everything. Like he's in big biting mode. So as soon as he gets there, I figure out, oh, okay, is it that you just want to play and get some energy out, or is it that you just want to chew on something? And it's so nice when you get to recognize which one of those is and just provide him with it. Or I also really like stacking different enrichment activities. For example, start playing with a flirt pole to get some energy out, to get this like play dry going. And then as soon as you finish that, give him, let's say, a puzzle toy. So he gets to exercise a different part of his brain. And then as a last one, just give him a chew toy. And that's such a nice cycle of enrichment activities. And then after all of that, he's done, completely done. And I think that's really such a great tool to have. And it's also so satisfying for a human, honestly, where you get to do all of those things with them and you're like, ha, I figured out exactly what you wanted today. And this is great now.
You and Megan from Swift Paws are friends, but here is a perfect example of how much you guys are on the same page and why I like both of you so much is because you do that enrichment stacking. I do that too. I should probably clarify this because when I say we go outside and play fetch, we don't just play like fetch. Yes, we have a chuck it. Yes, there is a ball involved, but we also have tunnels and jumps and all the things. There's an obstacle course set up. So he's doing lots of things. We're not just throwing a ball and he's going to get it and bringing it back. He's got to do other things. There's a ball pit. We sometimes have the Swift Paws out there as a thing that we do in the middle of all of it too, which is, I think, one of my favorite things to watch him do is we'll get the Swift Paws going, but he'll hold his ball in his mouth and he'll chase it with the ball in his mouth. And I'm just like, okay, weirdo. I'm not sure what that's about, but okay. But yeah, just take it up a level. It doesn't even just have to be the Posler. It can be anything. You can always add layers to make it a little bit more intricate and interesting.
Exactly. And like you mentioned, Swift Paws, like Mega's the CEO of it, it's just such an amazing tool, to exercise your dog as well. And the flirt pole I was using was their flirt pole, and it's just game changer. When you have a puppy that is bitey and you need to create a little distance between your hand and whatever they're trying to catch, it's such an amazing tool, really. And then like we said, just like then stack it with some puzzles or with a chew toy or with something like for them to just like lick it or just wind down that way, you're golden.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And puppies, man, that shark mouth stage it's
Yeah.
something. It's
It really
something.
is. It really is. I haven't had a puppy for a while now, and now that I'm watching the one that I'm watching right now, it's a good reminder that people need some products to help them out at that stage.
They do. Let's talk a little bit about the design because you refer to it a lot as Lego for dogs, which is really neat because that gives you immediate picture, right? Almost everybody knows what a Lego is. But what makes modular puzzles more effective than standard hide and treat toys? And what made you think of the Lego reference? How did you come up with that?
Yeah, it has like a lot of different benefits. First one is that even if you just use the same puzzles that you have and you just rearrange them on the board, it already creates a little bit of a bigger challenge for your dog because it's not something that he knows that well. We've done a lot of like time studies on it and just like use the same pieces and just like shift them around. And then another benefit is that you can also change difficulty levels within that same design. So for example, if you just look at Zoe, which is our little yellow puzzle, if you turn it outward, with the lid is facing outward, this is much easier for a dog to open. But as soon as you just detach it from the board and clip it in the other way, all of a sudden your lid is facing inwards, which is much harder for your dog to access, which already gives you a bunch of opportunities of how to really level up already with existing pieces. And then another benefit of modularity is that then you get to figure out which puzzles it is that your dog loves the most, or which mechanisms he enjoys the most, and which ones are a bit trickier for them. And then if you want to level it up, or if you want to get more puzzles for your dog, you don't have to get all of these other different ones that your dog is not as interested in. You can just focus on those because you can buy all the pieces individually. So there are many, many benefits of it. Also, the cleaning is much easier because all of our puzzles are dishwasher safe. So you just detach them from the base, put them in a dishwasher. Another one is the base stacking, as I mentioned before. So you can merge the bases, so you can create it as big as you want. So that was really what we were looking at. And then as soon as we created this, we didn't even create it with Lego in mind. But then once we created it and we tried to describe it to people, like the Lego reference is just something that like seemed the most appropriate because it's something that people understood very quickly.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys do. I met Aina at Global in March in Orlando, and now we're going to see each other here again at Super Zoo in August. And I'm really excited for that. By the time this episode comes out, you guys will probably have already seen that footage, but I will make sure to share with you guys. And if you're listening to this episode now, go back and look, because Aina sets up these big, huge puzzle boards, and then dogs come by and do all of them. So that's super fun to watch. So I'll make sure that we have some footage for you guys to reference so that you can take a look at how cool it is and how big you can actually make these things.
Yeah, there's absolutely no limit. One day, our vision is that we're going to have a whole stadium full of dog puzzles that is going to be just like one big dog puzzle.
That would be so fun to watch. You design and manufacture in the EU. What safety and quality standards are essential in your material and process, especially around dishwasher safe, food safe plastics, and X-ray detectability?
Yeah, so unfortunately, there is not a lot of regulations that are there for dog puzzles or for dog toys in general. Like if you just compare this to kids' toys and all their certificates and all the regulations that are in place there for pets, unfortunately, that's just not the standard yet, which means that it's up to every single company to decide, and they decide, okay, we want to invest more in our product and in our material to make it safe for dogs, which is why this responsibility is put on the owners of the dogs to do their research and to figure out which materials are not harmful for dogs. And that's why we spared like absolutely nothing when it comes to quality, because all of our toys are made out of food safe materials, so basically humans could eat out of them. They're dishwasher safe, they're visible on x-ray, so even if you have an accident where your dog chews off a piece and they ingest it, you can go to a vet and they can do an x-ray in your dog. And a lot of toys have the problem that you do not see those pieces on an x-ray, which means that dog then has to go into exploratory surgery just to see if maybe he ingested it or not. So that was also one aspect that was important to us. Dishwasher safe. And also we wanted this specific, very, very soft plastic. You will see it immediately when you hold our puzzles. They have this like velvety finish to it, and the plastic is very, very soft. So you will see dents in it from dogs' teeth quite quickly if they're a bit bitey. And we wanted that because once they bite into it, we didn't want their tooth to chip or to have any damage on them. We would prefer the plastic being a little bit, let's say, bent, not really bent, but just like an indent from the teeth in it. That's why it was very important for us to do something like this. And there's also where modularity comes in handy, right? Even if your dog chews on a piece, you don't have to buy a whole new puzzle, or the whole puzzle is not useless. You just discard that one piece and just get a new one, and it's as good as new.
Now that you mentioned that, I didn't realize that was the purpose of it. But yeah, it is very nice feeling. I don't want to say soft because it's plastic, but it's smooth and it is velvety. I think that's a good way to describe it. And it's so cute. For anybody that can see, like, look at the little dog on there. They all have different little designs on them, and they're just adorable. They're so cute. And it's just fun to look at too. And you make them, and this one that I have is all in the colors that dogs can see, right? So it's the oranges
Yeah,
and blues.
absolutely.
And yeah, I think that's really cool that you guys do that too, because that gives the dog a little bit more depth into the toy as well, which is super fun.
Yeah, all of them are just the shades of blue and yellow, which are the only colors that dogs can see. So it's super nice to see them how they like see puzzle in a pile of different toys, and they're like, oh, I can see this. What is this?
I can see it. This makes sense to me. Dogs
Yeah.
are so funny. Okay, for dog parents that you've spoken to regarding Posler, has anybody said anything about like what behavior shifts they see? Anything like anxiety, attention seeking, food obsession? Has this toy helped?
Yeah, absolutely. We have so many different stories of people like really using it in so many different ways. One of them is a slow feeder. That's a common one. Just to slow down dogs that are like eat extremely fast. It's much better for their digestion. And then another one is also the exact opposite of this, actually. It's for very picky eaters. Because when they solve puzzles, it turns on this hunting instinct that they have, which makes the food more enjoyable for them in a way. So even for dogs that are maybe pickier, using puzzle for something like this is just, it's going to make them eat more. I used a lot with my 17-year-old dog where he was already getting older and he had a bit of trouble with appetite and he wasn't eating as much. And puzzle was a great way for me to just encourage him to eat his dinners and his meals. So that's another great way of using it. And then just all sorts of destructive behavior, all sorts of anxiety, because it really builds confidence. If you hit them at that exact right level where it's manageable for them to figure it out, but at the same time still engaging, it really builds their confidence a lot. I also know a lot of people use it for separation anxiety, for example. Here we're always cautious to say that you should always be attentive and be with your dog while they do this. It's like a together play toy. It's not a toy that is meant for your dog to be left alone with it. But if you know your dog for a very long time and if you know exactly how he interacts with it, I would also leave my dog with it. But only, of course, after I really know exactly how he behaves around it and that he's not a chore or anything like this. And in those cases, you can really also train separation anxiety with it.
That was actually going to be my next topic for you, was how it builds mental resilience and how parents can use them as enrichment during stressful events or quiet times, which we used ours during 4th of July fireworks. We have a spray that we use, and I just sprayed the spray in it and sprinkled the treats in it and distracted. It was great.
Yeah. Exactly. We see a lot of people using them for those purposes. So whenever your dog is anxious, stressed, or anything like this, it's a great tool to really take their mind off of things, give them something to channel all that energy into. And then by the time they're so into it, then they get tired. So then anything that comes their way, they're just much easier to process it.
Yes, absolutely. When I am scared about something or nervous about something or just feeling any kind of way, having that little bit of support is so helpful to me. If we can give our dogs that same kind of support, we're going to see change in behavior because they're going to know that they're not just trying to deal with this on their own, and we're not just going to leave them to their own devices. And I think that's so important. So I love that you've created something that supports them in so many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We are, as you can tell, we are very, very passionate about it, especially since we've seen what a difference it can make in shelters. I would say the majority of our current charity work goes towards donating puzzles to shelters. We don't not only donate to shelters where shelter dogs can play with it, but then we also donate a bunch of sets, which then the puppies can get to know in the shelter, already know how to play with them, already know how to get some sort of energy out of it. And then as soon as they go to their new parents, they can take that puzzle with them. And then as soon as they move into their new home, they're able to get a smooth transition when they have one thing that they really already know, they're already familiar with it, and it helps to create this wonderful bond with the puppy and their new owner. And it's just such a wonderful tool that we've seen a lot of people use. So that's absolutely one that we are very, very passionate about.
I love that. I think that's so cool that they get to go home with it. I just That's all warm and fuzzy, right? Because shelter dogs, they have so many less opportunities and activities. So I think that that's wonderful that you're providing them something that's theirs, right? Something that they're familiar with, that they can take to their new home and still have that comfort and routine item. So that's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's such a joy to see all of those videos from all of those shelters and also sanctuaries. We've now also been collaborating with some zoos, and that's also been such a amazing experience for us, just seeing different animals. I've seen everything from dogs to guinea pigs to parrots to snakes to wolves to deer. I'm just mind blown every time I see a video of how many different species can really, really participate in mental stimulation and how engaging it is for them. And I think it also leans on that study that they did about counter freeloading, where they put into the cage, they put two different options for them. Like, so two different options for how to consume food. One of them, they just put a little bowl and they put some treats inside. And then they took those same treats and they put them in something that they had to work to get there, a little bit of an enrichment puzzle. And they noticed that the majority of the animals, they chose the one where they had to work for food over the same exact free food, which is something that I think it's just like such an amazing showcase of how important mental stimulation is and how much it means to the animal.
I have Toby who would be like, I'm going to eat everything out of the bowl first, and then I'm going to do the puzzle. Gotta have every crumb. But that's the unique personality, right? I'm sure that you have customers all over the world because this is something that every single dog can use. Do you have any stories that have really stuck with you, whether it's really helped a dog or just something really funny happened with it that you could share with us?
Yeah, just from the top of my mind, I remember this one case that we had a lady ordered a puzzle for her dog. And then as soon as it arrived, she set it up. She was so excited. She gave it to her dog. And then she left it on the floor and there were still two treats inside that the dog didn't get. And then they've seen their cat try to get to it. And then from that moment onwards, it became a fight between a dog and a cat over whose puzzle this is. So then she wrote to us and she was like, I really like this. I'm going to have to order another one because my dog will not share with my cat. And when my cat decided that this is her toy and she's guarding it and laying on top of it, so I have to get another puzzle toy so that they both have their separate ones, because otherwise it's going to cause some trouble in my household.
I mean, there's a whole new market there for you, right?
Yeah.
You could do a totally different set of puzzles because of cats.
Yeah, we have a lot of cat customers already, but we are being a little bit careful when it comes to cats because I feel like they're just so unique, and we have a lot of customers that already buy it for their cats, but we just don't want to market it towards them because we don't want to disappoint anybody. We've never met a dog that didn't like puzzles. We've never seen one that is like, just not interested. It's just about how to introduce it to them and how to hit the exact right difficulty level. But for the cats, we've seen, like, I have some friends that like gifted them Paws, and they have one cat that just like, loves playing with it, would play with it all day, every day. And then another cat just could not be bothered, could not care less, doesn't even want to approach the treats in the slightest. So that's why we just don't want to disappoint anybody, which is why we're not marketing it towards cats. But we realized that like the cat parents who know that they have cats that love puzzles or that are gonna interact with them, they seek out dog puzzles, and then they understand that that's also something that's gonna be good for their cat. So I think that the cat owners who know their cat well, they will know how to seek out for the puzzles.
Yeah, and you're right. Cats are they're very different. They're very interesting animals, and they definitely have a very vibrant way of expressing their personalities. So
Yeah.
I could see where people definitely would be like, "Oh, I'm going to get this puzzle for my cat," and then the cat just be like, "No, no, thank you." So yeah, that could definitely be an issue. For somebody that's just starting out with puzzles and they're unsure where to begin, what advice would you give them when they start using Paws?
Well, I would say you can go two different ways. You can either start with our beginner set, which I think I just have right behind me, and there you just have like level 1 puzzles, and that is a great way for somebody to start with interactive play in general. But if you have a puppy that maybe already tried either some other enrichment toys or some other puzzles, or you just know that they're just like get a little bit more savvy, then I think a great way to start is also a rainbow set, which I also have behind me. And this is the most universal set because it has 3 different difficulty levels inside of them. I think that's exactly the one that you were showcasing before.
Mm-hmm.
And that one has a lot of options there because you can go something like very easy. You can go with level 1 puzzles, but then you also have level 3 puzzles so that you can have something to start with, but also something to build up. So I would say one of those 2.
And then when you are introducing a puzzle to
Mm-hmm.
a new dog
Mm-hmm.
and they've never done anything like this before, I mean, because this feels like a lot, right? Especially if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a dog that's super curious or never done a puzzle before. How would you recommend somebody start with their dog? One piece, couple pieces, just the board? What do you think?
Yeah. I would say if it's really the first time the dog has ever seen anything like a puzzle toy, I would say just take the base and just put the easiest puzzle on top of it. And for the level 1, that would be either the Oli, so the round one that you showed, or Onyx, which is like a little sliding thing. So one of those and just put them on the base and put some treats inside and see if he will figure it out on his own. And if not, there is nothing wrong with showing your dog how it works. There is nothing wrong with you for the first couple of times of you sliding the toy so they see how it works and then learn gradually. But of course, you also have dogs that immediately when you put it down, they already start moving it with their noses. So just meet your dog where they're at, go slow and help them a little bit if necessary for the first couple of times, and then start adding and adding and adding on top of their difficulty levels so that you can really showcase the whole spectrum of difficulty for them.
Yeah, that's great. One step at a time. Don't overdo it. Again, like you said, you don't want to build frustration. You want to build curiosity and really
Yes.
help them get into it and not get frustrated by it. So what's next? What's next for Posler?
We're always working on new puzzles, so we have more of those coming out, harder and also something a bit easier. So that's absolutely something that we are very excited for. We also launched a subscription model recently where you can subscribe to Puzzler and you get a couple of pieces every month. And that's a great way to always just surprise your dog with something new. And we're, of course, also working on some completely new ideas all the time on how to bring more innovation into enrichment space. So stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing the heart, the science, the creativity behind Posler. It's clear this isn't just about puzzle toys. It's about helping dogs feel confident, curious, connected, and love through play. And I think that so many of us forget that mental enrichment is not a luxury, it's a need. And if you've got a dog that gets bored, overstimulated, or just needs more than a walk to feel fulfilled, you guys can check out Posler. We have a code for 10% off. It's SUDT10. And the puzzles, as she said, are endlessly customizable, dishwasher safe, and designed to meet your dog exactly where they are. Aina, what would you like to leave our listeners with tonight?
Enrichment doesn't have to be complicated. You can also start at home. You don't need to buy any products. Even if you do something as simple of just like scatter some treats on the grass when you go for a walk, or for example, just put a little towel on their dog bowl so they have to remove it before they eat. You can start with something very small. Take an empty toilet paper roll, put some treats inside, close it up. It really doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. Anything you do is going to help your dog. So just try something and then see how much your dog's going to enjoy working on something new.
Love that. Trash enrichment is a favorite in this household, so we are here for it. Remember, be kind, spread joy, and learn about enrichment to help your dog live a better life. Thank you for listening to Straight Up Dog Talk. If your dog is bouncing off the walls no matter how much you walk them, it can feel like nothing is ever enough. The truth is, most dogs don't need more exercise. They need the right kind of enrichment to settle their brains and their bodies. That's why I put together a free enrichment resource packed with easy, fun ideas that you can try right away. The link is in the show notes. And remember, new episodes drop every Monday and Wednesday. I'll see you next time.